Hey, it's JT from hoagiesgarage.com. Just back in the garage, obviously. Gonna do a little bit of work on the Impala. Now, what's interesting about the Impala is it has a factory oil cooler system. Basically, the part where you screw your oil filter into has lines hooked to it that actually pump oil up into the radiator, from what I can tell, and then back. It seems weird to think that it would cool it there, but that's what it does. Now, if I flip you around here and show you this, the new engine, pretty bare bones as far as that sort of stuff goes. Boy. Right in that region there is where the oil filter is supposed to go. Well, all the adapters and that sort of stuff need to come off of the car. The other thing I do have here is I bought a new line setup just because the original is factory original, and this is going to be your end right here that bolts to the adapter under the new engine. So my plan is to drain the oil, which I'm not really going to show you that because that's pretty simple. The first thing I thought of when I was about to film that was Tommy Boy, when he's like, if you don't know how to put a seatbelt on, please use your call button, and Tommy's going to come by and hit you with a tack hammer. So yeah, oil's going to be drained. What's crazy though, this is kind of cool. The last time this engine's ever going to have oil in it, at least in my use of it here. And another quick plug, if this LT1 is something you'd be interested in, you can see the other videos. It runs fine. It's got 180,000 on it, but great runner. Obviously, it's going to be missing some parts because I'm going to reuse them. But if you're somebody that's looking for one, drop me a line. It'll be ready here in a couple months if you'd want to make the trip to Ohio, or you're in Ohio and you would be interested in it. So, anyways, the other thing is which my workbench is kind of a mess. This kit from Pro with all sorts of different gaskets and O-rings and stuff like that for the adapter setup. What I did notice too, and you can see this I think 2 videos ago, there was some oil spray, it looked like from this spot on the engine. So the seals are definitely going to be necessary. So we'll see what happens here. This is kind of new. I got factory service manuals just to sort of help me out if I need to. Got some printouts off the internet just for the gasket placement, that sort of thing. The other thing too is if you happen to check out the question and answer video, or you submitted a question, that video, I'll sort of link it like right there, if you want to see what the questions that were asked and how I answered them. So I'm gonna get this going here. Thanks for watching. So there's some residual oil dripping. Pan's been drained, plugs back in, oil filter's off. You can see the shiny circular part up there. That's where the oil filter goes. There's a nut up there holding the lines that run to it. I showed you those lines a minute ago, the new ones. Have to remove that nut up there, break the lines off, and then undo these bolts holding the filter adapter on. So I'm gonna remove that and see if that's sort of where our leak is. You can see a lot of the I wiped some of it off, but there's a lot of like over here, watch my shadow there, a lot of oil spray, I guess we'll call it, from there it looked like. But nevertheless, it's 180,000 miles, so I'm gonna start to disassemble this setup up here. Alright, so trying to make this one sort of quick. Drain the oil, took the filter off, obvious oil dripping everywhere. The engine's totally out of oil now. Last time oil's going to be in it for me. The adapter came off 2 Allen head bolts. Kind of a tricky spot to get to, but if you had Allen wrench sockets, with an extension, you'd be fine. But I even got it with just a regular old Allen wrench, normal, L-shaped one. I'm going to show you here what I got and what the plan is, but a lot of cleaning on this thing just because I don't want any leaks out of it, like it seemed like where I was getting them from before. So yeah, it took tons of cleaner, degreaser, all that to get it to this point. So Excuse the mess on my workbench. Alright, so here is the adapter. You know, unless you have an Impala, you know, with the oil cooler setup, these are somewhat tough to find. I mean, I know they're out there, but it's one part, we'll say, kind of give you, I don't know if you can see the number there, 101-68433. Anyways, this is kind of a part you don't want to break or drop or crack. It just doesn't seem like a fun one to find. To give you a sense of reference here, this is obviously where your oil filter would screw onto. So with that being said, if I'm, let's say, sitting in the driver's seat, it would be mounted in like this fashion, like with the line. That's where the line bolts up, which it's almost like a stud in the center. It actually just spun out of there with the nut, so it's still caught up under there with the old line, which I'm not too worried about. It does just look to be like a blind hole, so even just if you had a bolt or something to tighten the line to, I think that'll be fine. Not too worried about that. But anyways, all cleaned up, ready to go. These are those bolts I was telling you about. Now, the gasket kit I got, if you look up inside, and like this is the part that goes to the engine, there's an O-ring that goes sort of in that seat right there, and that's actually the O-ring there. I took that out, and then there's also a, we'll say, a paper gasket that goes right here. It ran through the factory service manual, which I'll show you over here. Kind of gives you, sorry about my shadow, breakdown of the layout of it, how it all goes, exploded view. If I go back over here, so this is my new kit right here. There's two kits. I got this from Amazon. I'll put a link in the on the web page. There's a smaller kit with less pieces, parts, and there's this more elaborate kit. Cost a couple dollars more. The only reason I got this one because some guy in the review of the smaller, cheaper kit said he was missing parts, so I was like, just to be safe, I didn't want to have any issues. But basically this is going to go right in there like that, and going by these two, both of them would work, but the one that looks like it's the most on the car is this one, and that one's going to go basically like that up against the new engine. So just starting the bolts in there, I could pretty much snug this up. They weren't like overly tight, and if you look at the size, I mean, they're not huge. It's surprisingly not that torqued down, the whole thing. I mean, obviously it's tight, but it's not like you gorilla tighten this or anything. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on, and I'll show you sort of the finished product after. But yeah, just one of those things. It's the little pieces, parts that you got to do when you transfer this stuff, you know, going from an old engine to a new engine. My hands are somewhat clean from doing this, but I do have a lot of residual oil. Using parts cleaner did help. Just sitting here, I got from this company called Muck Daddy their hand cleaner, which I'll kind of give a full review when my hands are actually, like, they actually look really clean right now, but I got some residual oil and parts cleaner. They've got this stuff, it's called Smooth. It's not as abrasive, it's not as crazy, but I'm gonna give that a shot today at the end of the work day here. So let me put this on. I'll show you what it looks like on the new engine then. So with header's a little bit in the way, you can see the adapter right there. Kind of come around this side, show you. It's where the lines go. Those two holes at the top get bolted in. Then from there you can see the stud there down the bottom where the oil filter screws in. On the left is the drain plug, oil level sensors there. There's sort of a back view. Installed. So not a crazy day, we'll say, as far as something major, but it is another step, another thing you got to find seals for. You got to remove it, you got to do it, and make sure it's done right. Kind of a vital component you don't want really leaking or having a major problem, because you don't want to put that sort of thing to chance. So thanks for watching. That's the oil filter adapter install, LT1 Impala SS engine. Stay tuned for more. Next, like I said before, we're going to drain the radiator out, start removing hoses, lines, plugs, and then start doing like accessory components, whatever I can to get on this engine without having it be in the way for the install. If you have any tips on that, just curious if you've done this, what is definitely going to be in the way should I not put on? Like, I know the alternator, that's real easy to do, but is there anything you highly recommend that I put on the engine now, just to be sure? I know the AC lines are a pain, I know spark plug wires are a pain on this, but anything else you say, like, yeah, put it on now while you can and it won't be in the way. So any tips you have, I'd appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Have a good night. We will catch you soon here.